wondering about?
Okay, so I kind of had to back my way out of a conversation today. I've been really doing good about. Okay, that's enough. I've been really.
I didn't know how far I needed to back out.
Like my dad always told me that I needed to think before I speak, and it's got me in trouble a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know that.
Yeah.
Okay. We were working on some sidewalk in a subdivision in town today, and there was a woman and 3 children, and then I think maybe a babysitter that was out for a stroll. And I'm pretty sure that her husband might listen to the show, which is fine. And I just want to apologize first by saying that was the old mentality. Okay. I'll just leave it at that. Now, moving on. I'll get to what I said, and you guys won't think it's terrible. But she was bringing her kids up to watch us. We had already poured. The concrete was on the ground. We were finishing. I was running the bull float. The 2 other guys were edging, getting the edges roughed in and everything like that. We were just, finishing the concrete. And, we're just looking, and she's like, oh, now they're going to take this and, they're going to get it flat and, work it. And, they're going to make it look pretty, and then they'll take the broom and, blah, blah. She was just explaining to her daughter, which probably, I'm going to guess 8, maybe 8-ish, 7, 8-ish. And she said, oh, she said that, Mommy, I want to be a builder when I get older. The little girl did. And her mom was like, oh yeah, that's great. And all that stuff. At that point, I say, well, just remember, you need to go to college so you can get a big girl job so you don't have to work like we do doing this stuff. Which then at that point, her mother was like, oh, no, Mr. Zach. That's not what we're teaching. We're teaching that you can do whatever makes you happy to make a living or be whatever you want to be when you grow up. She said, because your job's not a bad job, is it? And my boss is standing right there, and I'm no.
You're 13-time employee of the month.
Yeah,
you
it's
got a great job.
No, it's a great job. I'm just saying, sometimes it's better to work with your brain and not your.
Would you rather make 100,000 or 50,000?
So therein lies my topic. Would you rather work with? I said, would you rather work with your brain or would you rather work with your back? You know what I mean? And I said, it's always nice to have to work with your brain. Sorry, I was just staring off for a minute. So then that led me to do a little bit of homework.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get your guys' feelings on what you think about this topic in general. But before we go on, we'll just go into the facts of the matter. Now, this is the United States average, okay? In 2022, so that's 2 years post-COVID, 2022, the average annual income of a high school graduate in the United States of America average was around $34,320. Okay. That's just with a high school diploma.
I was going to say 32, but
right. Okay. Now we go over here. Oh, dive bomb! What was that?
A big old beetle right there on your chest.
Still on you, right above your
shit. Fire!
And that got you right on the chest.
The landing gear on that bastard. But it says, now, there again, do they really earn what their degree says they should be making? The average income for a college graduate in the United States is about $60,000 per year. A humanities graduate, what's that mean?
Kind of like a general education, liberal arts
So
study
a humanities graduate earns around $50,000. While those in engineering, computer science degrees earn around $75,000 a year. Okay? So obviously, if you're going to go to college,
there's select majors that you want to major in and
let's
creative
say,
writing.
What do you think it is? Would you say 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10? that you're going to make more money if you're college educated versus?
No.
Okay. And that's what I was hoping you were going to chime in for. Okay. And this is where we got a few minutes to debate here. But my question is, when I graduated high school, I had absolutely no intentions of going to college. None. Zero. And my thought was, I hated school. Why the hell would I go to more school to try to basically just waste more money? Because I wanted to go straight to work and start making money. So I did, and I really lucked out and just fell into a really, really awesome opportunity. And I'm very grateful for those that helped me out with it, and I was able to make substantially way more money than any 6 or 18-year-old kid should have been making at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so there again, one more fact, and then we can get debating here. Student loans can make a college education more accessible, but they can also be a heavy burden on graduates or dropouts and their families. The average student loan for a bachelor's degree recipient was around $29,400 in the 2021-22 school year, according to the College Board. Among all borrowers, the average balance is closer, in fact, to $38,787, according to the 2023 data from Experian, one of the 3 national credit bureaus. So with that being said, my question for you is, after 4 years, 5 if you take the victory lap, of lost income, plus on average, let's just say $40,000 due to the inflation rate, or what kids are probably dealing with now. You're 4 or 5 years lost income plus 40 grand in the hole for going to school. And then you take that money and try to recoup that while making, let's just say what did we say the average was for a college education? 60 grand maybe, but you're not going to make that day one, are you? Maybe
Depends on what the degree.
Yeah. You're right.
And you can't just say it's doctorate, because I've known some people have got advanced degrees that aren't working anywhere because they haven't found something that fits their chakra or something. So now
I totally agree.
A decade's worth of.
You would not believe how many college educated coal miners I worked with over the years. Like people with education degrees, people with, whatever degrees, like literally people that went to college for 4 years and ended up coming out and pushing rock in a big hole in the ground, just like me. You know what I mean? So with that being said, this lady saying that to her child, it made me think like, oh God, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe that old adage of you got to go to college, you know what I mean? Because like back in the day when we were going to school, you had to. That was something that they beat down our necks. Like, you got to go to college, and everything like that. It's just like I thought I was screwed by not going to college, but you two are both college educated individuals, and you two obviously have way better jobs. Like, I shouldn't say better jobs, but maybe I don't know how you say that. Like, I really like my job. It's not a bad job, but you make obviously substantially more money than I do, and same as you. But where is that balance? Like, where is that? Like, how do you figure? What's your take on this?
I mean, I probably am on the spectrum of probably overeducated.
Right.
I mean, I have a doctorate degree, working on a master's degree.
Right.
Obviously have a bachelor's degree.
Right.
So at the table, I've probably got the most paper hanging on the wall, but I also have a pretty big student loan amount.
Right.
I was blessed that my parents helped out a lot.
For sure.
Sure. But I think for me, I knew what I was getting into and I knew what I was going to do. So like, it doesn't bother me. The student loan debate and the college or not college debate that bothers me is these people that go get a creative writing degree, or, like you talked about that general studies thing. Like, you just went to college for 4 years to do that. I think though, the way Janelle and I look at it, because obviously she's got a doctorate of veterinary medicine or whatever they call it, that I don't think there's any pressure on our children to do any of that stuff.
Right.
I will say that shout out Papa Frank, like he grew up working the back-breaking blue collar. You know, he's laying under a D9 fixing
Kind of the
something
same
in
shit that I'm doing
January.
now. Yeah.
You know, the guy hates the cold. He's had 3 back surgeries.
Yep.
He's had 2 knee replacements.
Right.
You know, a bunch of that other stuff. And I can remember him just, you know, living that lifestyle, and he didn't want it to do it. That's why I am so unmechanically inclined. I was going to say mechanically declined, but I don't think that's the right word.
I think
because he didn't want us doing that stuff.
I think that's where I'm at too. You know what I mean? Like, I know I am a fat bastard, but like after having, you know, 5 knee surgeries, an ankle surgery, you know, all this shit, you know, I don't know. Like, I just much,
but like
much rather see
all
my
those boys, like it turned out different. Like Chris he's got a good gig with the Y, and he's got a master's degree.
Right.
You know, Corey went to school. Corey would be your example. Yeah. You know, he went 4-year degree, and he's got a good gig with Steiny there at Steinkamp's. Right. Like, shout out Steinkamp's Home Center. We always have a spot for you here at Smokers Lounge.
Come on board.
You know, and then me with like what I do, but I'm using my degree. Like but I would say that there's days where I wish I was pouring concrete. There's days that I wish I was framing something in. Like, I loved working construction.
Right.
But that mental strain is a son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
And I get that the physical part of it can be tough, but you probably have those days where you come home.
Yeah, what do you think, Smoke?
And your brain is just mush. And it's a tough thing. That's why I love mowing grass. That's why I love just vegging out sometimes or going to coach, because it just the escape.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not going to tell my kids they got to go to college. They're going to have a plan. I wasn't going to go to college. I had an apprenticeship worked out at a tool shop in town.
That's right.
That went to shit.
That
so
went
then
away,
it was like, oh, well, okay. Well, I graduate high school allegedly here in a semester and a half. So
wait, are you saying you didn't graduate high school? Are we going to have to investigate?
No. I did. I wasn't completely sure if I was going to at the time. I was no great student. I just didn't give a shit to be there.
No.
Didn't want to go to college either because it seemed like a waste. But I'm glad I did. I learned a lot there. Not college stuff, like just
life.
Yeah,
life.
Yeah. Just being down there and figuring it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. My kids aren't going to have to go to college, but they need to tell me they're going to do something. I don't want them just to be like leeches or something.
Right. I think he hit a really good one too. Like things that I'm always like very envious of like my wife and you guys and friends that went to college and shit. It's like I feel like I always joke that I went to IU for 5 years and never went to single class, but I didn't live there.
Yeah.
I didn't have to figure it out. I still lived with my parents and I still did all that shit. I didn't move out till I was probably, I think I was 19 or 20, you know what I mean, when I moved out, And living in small town Huntingburg or small town USA is definitely not the same as living in a dorm in a college town.
Yeah, but you got
but you know what I'm saying.
You got some of those great stories of nights spent at the overtime and different things like that.
Right. But I'm just saying, like you miss out on certain things by, like if you're a commuter in college. I mean, I went to college, but I commuted the whole time, and everyone's like, "Oh, what a loser." You know what I mean? But,
and
what I mean?
I'll say this though: some of like why I'm like Janelle's like, why would you want to go back and get your MBA? And I'm like, some of it is somebody else is paying for it, which is the first time in the history of me getting educated. But like some of it is too, is like I want to better myself for the long run.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Janelle's fortunate. She's out of student loan debt. I'm not. Some of that is probably, going to UE and private education. And I loved it. I couldn't have gone to IU. Like I would have not made it. I would have been, I was a degenerate enough.
Yeah.
But like the small class size when you walked in and it was the same 15 kids, 20 kids, that's probably good for me. But I think like for me, it's not necessarily like if you break your life down into decades, like the 20s and 30s and 40s are probably all about digging out of that hole.
Exactly.
For my 50s and 60s to be set up great to then be able to retire, maybe. I mean, retire is a falsehood anyways. There's going to be no Social Security force anyways. Maybe for Dave, because he's close to that, a lot closer than us. But, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, but if I wanted to work till I was 80, I'm in a profession where I can. There was an old attorney out of Warwick County named Burley Scales, and he may still practice law. But the last time I saw that son of a bitch, he was probably 84, 85 years old. But he's still, mind was still sharp as a tack. Went into the office every day to drink coffee and read the paper in his office. But I don't know. Like, I think the duality of it is if let's say Ryan comes home and says, "Hey, Dad, I want to be in the HVAC world, or I want to be an electrician." Awesome. What can I do to help you with it? And pick up that trade, because there's a lot of guys.
Right.
You go and look at. Hayes Heating and Air, sponsor of this show.
Right.
He started out doing that. He's got his boy on. He's got the Lauderdale boy on there now. Yep. Next thing you know, he's growing his business. Right. And but kind of like your apprenticeship, you learn from somebody, and then you say, I can go do this on my own. And then you learn how to run a business, and then you build a business. You look at the other ones around us, RG Mechanical, Machine Work. Like, a lot of those businesses are doing really, really well. Mm. And it started out with that 2-year or whatever that program is. I know it's a long one, but
and I think that's some things that, like, in the past, especially with me, like, they didn't push that trade school stuff. They was just, you got to go to college. Like, you got to go get your associate's degree. You got to get your bachelor's
but that's
degree.
why we have the student loan debt crisis.
Exactly.
Not just like per individual, but as a country.
Yeah. But nowadays, I feel like there are more and more kids that are going to trade schools, that are going straight into workforce, that are doing all this shit, and I think it's good.
Well, I will applaud.
Richmond did well at that. Richmond High School. We had a lot of industry local at the time, so the vocational program there was real
huge.
strong.
Yeah.
The only reason the apprenticeship fell through was the economy, and the government stopped funding it. It wasn't like anything,
because
but they pushed it well, and that's why it was so easy to get in down at VU, because there was a relationship between the program I was in.
Kind of like a feeder deal.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing too. I will applaud our school district, because I've gone to present scholarship there, and they recognize those folks that have, going into the military, going into the job, like, and I think bravo. Like, not everybody's meant to go to college. I'll say this, not everybody's meant to go to high school.
Yeah.
If you could learn basic, like, financial literacy and be able to read and write and sign your own name and stuff, and you get to be 16 and you want to go into the workforce, by God, why do you force 2 or 3 more years of education on kids that don't need to go do it?
No.
Like, and that's my view of it. Like, you could say I'm wrong, but if you had a chance to go to work when you were 16 and not have to deal with some teacher trying to read you Macbeth or some other British literature thing,
like what the does this make any sense to do with the price of wheat in China? You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea why I need to read this shit.
Like, that's the thing.
But there again, it's how, and I mean, it's controversial stuff, but like the career, not what do you call it? The curriculum path, and like all these, talking heads in the state house and this education board and all this stuff. Like, I mean, they see this is what you need to do to be the best that you can be. You know what I mean? And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's great and grand. But for me, like in my situation, if it wasn't for my wife and me passing my English 12 final, I wouldn't have graduated high school. I would have had to go to Dale Alternative, like a bunch of my buddies, and get my GED and literally go straight back into the job that I was going to go into anyway. You know what I mean? So I think I felt when I said that was an old adage that was always a thing for me. Like, my old man always told me, you need to work with your brain and not your back. And that was always a thing. But nowadays, I feel that woman was right. You know what I mean? I feel like
I've met lots of people that pretty smart on paper and can't change a car battery.
Amen.
That's scary too.
Amen.
I feel like you're attacking me.
No.
I can change a car battery.
But no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there's a lot more opportunity for kids to learn the more important shit, as opposed to going to college for 5 years and learning about just one thing. Does that make sense?
Well, and some of that, will change over time as the trades and other things become
Right.
like more important and schools focus on that.
Well, they're becoming, I don't want to, glamorous is definitely not the word, but it was looked down upon, I feel like, a long time, like a trade. But
exactly right.
Now there's people out there that are like, well, how in the heck's this guy driving a $120,000 truck and living in a house like that? Well,
Amen.
Because he knows his shit, and not too many people know that shit.
Yeah, and he works
so
his
I think
balls
it's, and
off
it just, I think we've just backed ourselves in that corner by pushing too hard one way. The student loan thing, the numbers you were talking about, I bet it is only $26,000, $27,000 a year. The problem is everybody goes to school, and the financial institutions will allow you to take so much more than you need, and now you have all these young people that don't need just a big wad of cash handed to them when there's nothing to do but drink it away.
Exactly.
And then they get living this lifestyle, not thinking about, okay, well, so this lifestyle here, I'm making it on $4,000 every 6 months or semester, whatever extra money, but you're not paying for insurance, you're not paying for electric, gas, water,
cell phone,
car insurance, the whole thing. Mom and dad's still covering that. So you start living on this, getting used to probably a $70,000, $80,000 a year lifestyle, and to get out and think, oh shit,
yeah,
I'm really only making 38 to 45,000, but half of that's gone because of the extravagant life I was living.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a lot of that's that financial literacy we talked about. And there's a CLE going on up at the resort, advanced gaming issues. And the guy that was in talking about it, and some of our educators that watch and listen to the show, but I think Indiana just mandated to graduate, you have to pass a financial literacy class. So I think the class of 2028 will be the first ones that have had that education that requires them to do that. And
I took business math with Mr. Oxley.
Oh, Mr. Oxley.
Yeah,
is he still alive?
Yeah, hell yeah. I seen him just the other day. We had to balance a checkbook, do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was very influential.
Yeah. I get it. Like,
What the hell was that class? We had to take a class and basically had to say what you wanted your life to be. Like what you wanted to be when you grew up.
Yeah.
It might have been, but like with that, you had to find a vehicle, and like this was when the internet was new still.
Oh.
And you had to go out and like find quotes and then insurance quotes, and then, okay, what size house do you think you need? What size family are you going to have? And then find that median income of that career path and find out how dicked you were.
Yeah. Well, shit.
Yeah. Kind of that life skills like that. Yeah. I tell you what, if, you go back to talking about changing a car battery, God bless my father, because I was a very good flashlight holder, but then when it got to the point where it was time for you to start doing some of that stuff, I'm lucky he didn't beat me with a wrench, because he would have been more than he would have had more than justifiable cause to do that. So, but like my dad, he's a good one. I mean, I tell you what, that guy has learned to do a lot of different things by just doing it. And kids don't, we've talked about it before, like kids that are tinkerers or work on stuff and do some of those things. Like he never went to some, diesel mechanic class. Like, he learned by watching somebody else or, kind of working through the problem. And he would have been a great engineer or architect, like just being able to see that big picture. But yeah, it's interesting.
That's what had me wondering.
It's a pretty deep wonder.
I know. It's a good one.
And we went deep in the waters.